We'll back up a little bit to talk about the photoreceptors of the retina. These are what will convert our sun's energy into vision. There are two types. Cones are for color, rods are for dim light, and only see black and white. You'll notice when you go out at night and your eyes adjust to very dark light that you don't see any color. Cones are also responsible for our sharpest vision. There are quite a few neural cells in the retina. Rods and cones synapse with bipolar cells. We don't see bipolar cells in very many places in the body. And then those bipolar cells will synapse on what are called ganglion cells. And here you can see the layering. So the outer wall of the retina is the pigmented layer. And then the rods and cones. They're called rods and cones because of their shape. Rods are for black and white vision. Cones are for color. Here are these bipolar cells, and they synapse with the rods and cones and also with the ganglion cells. This is the inside of the retina, so this is where the light is coming from, and it has to pass through all of these layers of neural cells. There are some other cells involved here, the horizontal cells and the amacrine cells, and we can just ignore those. So there are many more rods and cones, rods than there are cones. The densest region of cones is the fovea centralis of the macula, and there are actually no rods there. Rods are more to the periphery. So we see here's our fovea centralis, and the highest density of cones is at that fovea centralis, and then the rods you will see more off to the periphery. Cones are for color and for visual acuity, which is sharp vision. So photoreceptors detect photons, and a photon is the basic unit of light. Light energy comes at us from the sun in many different wavelengths, and what we can capture and use is this very small portion of the light, which is 400 to 700 nanometers. These pigments will convert light energy into neural energy, our electrical energy in our nervous system. And this is from a pigment in the rod called rhodopsin. The pigment requires retinal, which is made from vitamin A. So vitamin A is required for a healthy vision. At the outermost layer of the retina is a pigmented layer, pigmented epithelium, and this absorbs photons that are not used by the visual pigments. Rods all contain the same opsin, and it corresponds to blue-green. However, there are three types of cones: blue, green, and red. The most common is the red cone. Each cone has a different opsin, so therefore it allows it to recognize different wavelength ranges. If all three types of cones are stimulated equally, we see white. Color blindness is hereditary. It is the inability to distinguish certain colors, usually red and green. For example, a typical colorblind person would see a tree with red flowers and can see the green of the tree, but not the red flowers. A lot of their world is gray. Many colors just don't translate if their cones are not correct. And color blindness is usually in males. Which of these is responsible for focusing the lens? The ciliary muscle. Which muscle responds to increased parasympathetic stimulation? So try to remember the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is the fight or flight response. Parasympathetic is returning to normal. So it would constrict the pupil rather than dilate the pupil. Which of the following occurs to permit accommodation for near vision? Contraction of the ciliary muscles. What structures within the eye are affected in the condition of color blindness? Cones. Damage to which of the following will most directly impact vision? The fovea centralis. That is where the greatest concentration of cones exist. Pink eye is an inflammation of the conjunctiva. Through which area of the eye can the refraction of light be varied? So remember, refraction is the bending of light, and which part of the eye can alter so that the refraction can be varied? And that would be the lens. What vitamin is required to synthesize retinol? Vitamin A. We're skipping 15.12. 15.13 tells us a little bit about the three-dimensional nature of our vision. So obviously the nerve is the optic nerve. 1 million axons from the ganglion cells converge and become the optic nerve. But there are two optic nerves, and so information is coming from two different perspectives. Now they're both going to come in to the optic chiasm and then cross over to the opposite side of the brain. So information is coming in from both eyes, and part of that information is overlapping. So the left eye sees this region here, the right eye sees this region here, and this overlap here that kind of combines both the left and right eye, allows us to see in 3D vision. Normal vision is called emetropia. And you can see that the images, that the light coming in is being bent or refracted. It's bent or refracted at the cornea and then at the lens, and it's going to land at a spot on the retina. But sometimes the eye shape is not correct. For example, if the eyeball is too long, the image won't land on the retina, it lands in front of the retina. And so a specific type of lens that allows these rays to diverge a little bit and go further back and land on the retina is called myopia. It's nearsightedness. Hyperopia is farsightedness. The eyeball is too short. That would require a different type of lens to allow that image to land right on the retina. And we can improve our vision with PRK. What PRK does is shape the cornea. Remember, the cornea is the first structure that's going to bend the light. And this is a quick procedure. It just shapes the outer cornea. And then LASIK shapes the interior cornea. Which of these is found in the fovea centralis? That would be cones.